Have you ever felt like your thoughts are running you instead of the other way around? Maybe it's late at night and your mind won't stop replaying something you said. Or you're at your desk trying to focus, but a loop of what-ifs keeps you stuck. Worry, stress, and anxiety have this way of hijacking our attention, draining our energy, and stealing joy from the present moment. And the worst part? Most of what we worry about never even happens. But what if there were a way to stop that spiral? What if you could learn practical techniques, not vague affirmations, but grounded tools to manage worry before it takes over? That's exactly what Dale Carnegie set out to share in his timeless book, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. This isn't a book filled with theory. It's the result of years of teaching, listening to people's real struggles, and distilling wisdom into practical ideas that actually work. It's also personal. Carnegie himself once found his life completely overwhelmed by stress, burned out, directionless, physically ill from worry. What he discovered didn't just save his career, it gave him a whole new way to live. In this video, I'm going to walk you through some of the most powerful ideas from that book, but I'm not just summarizing. I'll share real-life stories from the book, examples of people who were stuck in cycles of worry, fear, and self-doubt, and how they turn things around. I'll break down each principle clearly and give you practical steps you can apply right away. You won't need to memorize anything or overhaul your whole life. The beauty of Carnegie's method is its simplicity. You can start with one idea, one shift in how you think, and feel the difference almost immediately. And I want to be upfront with you. I'm not just sharing this because it sounds good. A few years ago, I was buried in stress, juggling deadlines, personal uncertainty, and the creeping feeling that I was stuck in my own head. I picked up this book thinking it might give me a few tricks, but it ended up reshaping the way I think about fear, focus, and peace of mind. It gave me tools I still use almost every day. That's why I'm making this video, because I know how heavy worry can feel, and I also know it's possible to live differently. So, wherever you are, if you're feeling overwhelmed, or just looking for a smarter, calmer way to live, this is for you. Let's take a breath, slow down, and explore some practical wisdom that's helped millions of people, and might just help you too, to stop worrying and start living. One of the most powerful ideas in Dale Carnegie's book is also one of the simplest. Live in day-tight compartments. But what does that really mean? It means shutting the doors on yesterday and not letting tomorrow in too early. It means giving your full attention to today, just today. Carnegie borrowed this phrase from Sir William Osler, a brilliant physician and teacher who helped revolutionize modern medical education. Osler was once asked how he managed the pressure of leading a prestigious university, publishing research, raising a family, and still staying calm and focused. His answer? He treated each day like its own sealed unit, like a watertight compartment on a ship. He closed the doors on yesterday and tomorrow and lived completely in the present. He only dealt with the part of the ocean he was crossing today. Now, this idea might sound obvious, but ask yourself, how often do we actually live this way? We let yesterday's regrets linger. We jump ahead in our minds, imagining what could go wrong next week or next year. And while we're stuck in the past or lost in the future, we miss the only moment we can control, right now. Here's why this matters. Worry is almost always about time. We stress over something that already happened. Why did I say that? Or we fear something that hasn't happened yet. What if this goes wrong? But when we narrow our focus to just one day, today, we strip away a huge part of what feeds anxiety. This principle actually helped save a man's life. Lieutenant Ted Bengermino was serving in the Pacific during World War II. He was under extreme stress, air raids, fear for his life, the burden of leadership, and the pain of being separated from his wife and newborn son. Eventually, it broke him down. He developed stomach ulcers. He lost weight. He couldn't sleep. When he finally went to see a military doctor, he expected pills or a diagnosis. Instead, the doctor gave him a single piece of advice. He said, "Stop trying to live your whole life at once. Picture your life like an hourglass. Only one grain of sand can pass through at a time. Just get through this hour, this task. One grain at a time. That became Ted's mantra. Instead of thinking, how will I survive the next 6 months of this war? He focused on the next 10 minutes, the next decision, the next duty. That shift helped him recover his health and lead his unit with calm and clarity. Years later, he said he still used that hourglass image to manage stress in everyday life. And you can do the same. Each morning, remind yourself, today is my whole life. Not yesterday, not tomorrow, just today. Make a short list of what matters. Do what's in front of you. And when your mind drifts, gently bring it back. You don't need to figure out the whole week. Just get through today, wisely and well. Second principle, face the worst. Accept it, then improve it. What's the fastest way to stop worry from controlling your life? It might seem counterintuitive, but Dale Carnegie gives us a technique that works like mental judo. Instead of resisting the thing you're worried about, face it head on. He calls it the magic formula, and it has 3 simple steps. First step, ask yourself, what's the worst that could possibly happen? Then, mentally accept that it might happen, and calmly work to improve upon that worst-case scenario. Let's walk through each step. First, when you're stuck in a spiral of anxiety, your mind is usually vague and scattered. Carnegie says to stop and get specific. What is the actual worst thing that could happen in this situation? Write it down, say it out loud, see it clearly. Often just defining it shrinks it. Then, and this is the step most people resist, you accept it. That doesn't mean giving up. It means emotionally preparing yourself to survive that outcome, if it really happens. You stop running from the fear and meet it head on. Only then, with your mind calmer and clearer, do you start solving the problem. Let's look at a true story from the book. A story Carnegie called one of the most helpful examples he ever shared. It's about Willis H. Carrier, the inventor of modern air conditioning. Early in his career, he was managing a new gas cleaning system for a steel plant. After installation, the machinery completely failed. The plant's operations were disrupted, the client was furious, and Carrier faced the possibility of a $20,000 loss, enough to sink his company. He worried for days. He lost sleep. Then he remembered his own method. What's the worst that could happen? The company loses $20,000. He loses the client, maybe even his job. Could he accept that? It would hurt, but yes, he could start over. What can he do to improve the outcome? He went back to the plant, examined the machinery, and redesigned a new solution. Eventually, he fixed the problem for a fraction of the cost. What changed? The facts were the same. The risk didn't vanish. But once Carrier accepted the worst-case scenario, his panic melted away, and he could think clearly again. This isn't about expecting the worst. It's about disarming it. When we stop running from fear and face it, it usually becomes smaller than we imagined. Try this next time you feel paralyzed by worry. Sit down. Ask yourself honestly, what's the worst outcome here? Accept it. Feel the calm that comes with surrender. Then shift into problem-solving mode. What's one thing I can do to make this better? You'll find that fear loses its grip once you look it in the eye. Part 3. Break the worry habit before it breaks you. Worry often feels like something that happens to us. But the truth is, it's a habit. And like any habit, it can be unlearned. In How to Stop Worrying and Start Living, Dale Carnegie explains that worry is a mental pattern. The more you do it, the more automatic it becomes. But the good news is, just as you develop the habit of worrying, you can also replace it with habits that build confidence, presence, and peace of mind. One of the most effective ways to do this is to crowd worry out of your mind by staying constructively busy. That doesn't mean burying yourself in work to avoid your feelings. It means choosing activity that has meaning and structure so your brain doesn't have idle time to spiral. Carnegie puts it plainly, keep busy. The worried person must lose himself in action, lest he wither in despair. When your mind is focused on a clear task, even a simple one, there's less room for imaginary fears to creep in. You shift from passive rumination to active engagement. You're doing, not dwelling. When worry strikes, don't freeze. Move, clean a room, write a list, call someone, do one concrete task that engages your attention. Structure your day. Even if it's simple, give it a rhythm. Do something useful for others. Serving someone else pulls your attention out of your own head and rewires your sense of purpose. Take the story of Earl P. Haney, a man whose life spiraled after a business failure. He was financially ruined and emotionally shattered. For weeks, he lay in bed, overwhelmed by worry and self-pity. He couldn't stop replaying what he'd lost. Then one morning, something shifted. He forced himself to get out of bed and go help a neighbor fix a fence. That simple act of doing something useful broke his paralysis. The next day, he did another small task. Day by day, those actions became a ladder out of the hole. Eventually, Earl rebuilt a new career. But more importantly, he rebuilt his self-respect, not through some breakthrough insight, but through purposeful activity, the crowded worry out of his life. Think of your mind like a garden. Worry is a weed. If you let the soil sit empty, weeds grow fast. But if you plant meaningful action, those weeds have no space to take root. The key lesson here isn't to just stay busy. It's to stay intentionally, creatively, and usefully busy. That's what builds new patterns in the brain. That's how you slowly, patiently, and permanently break the habit of worry before it breaks you. Part 4. Don't let criticism steal your peace. Few things stir up worry as fast as criticism. Whether it's a harsh email or a passive-aggressive comment, or just that feeling that someone disapproves of you, criticism sticks. We replay it, personalize it, and let it shrink us. Dale Carnegie devotes an entire section of the book to methods for stopping criticism from ruining your inner peace. His first lesson is, criticism is often more about the critic than about you. It reflects their frustrations, their standards, or their mood, not necessarily your value. His second lesson says that you will be criticized no matter what you do. The only way to avoid it is to do nothing, say nothing, and be nothing. So if criticism is unavoidable, the real skill is learning how to handle it wisely. Carnegie wrote, "No one ever kicks a dead dog." The meaning? If you're doing something meaningful, you'll attract attention, and criticism with it. It's not a sign of failure, but a sign of relevance. So how do you stop criticism from causing chronic worry? Step 1. Ask, is it true? Some criticism is actually helpful. But instead of reacting emotionally, pause and look at it objectively. Is there a lesson here? If yes, learn from it. If not, let it go. Step 2. Get perspective. Will this matter in 5 days? What about in 5 months? Or 5 years? Most of what gets under our skin is quickly forgotten by others, but we let it live, rent-free in our heads. Step 3. Remember your intention. If you're acting with good faith and doing your best, that's enough. You're not here to win everyone over. You're here to live meaningfully. Carnegie tells the story of Charles Schwab, the first president of the U.S. Steel Corporation. Schwab was once called into a board meeting after being sharply criticized by journalists and public figures for a failed investment. One board member asked him how he could remain so cheerful under fire. Schwab replied, "I made up my mind long ago not to worry about what people who don't know all the facts think." That perspective allowed him to stay focused on the bigger picture and led to some of the company's greatest breakthroughs. Eleanor Roosevelt, who was relentlessly criticized throughout her public life, once said, "Do what you feel in your heart to be right. You'll be criticized anyway." That simple mindset allowed her to break barriers for women, civil rights, and humanitarian causes, not because she was immune to criticism, but because she refused to be ruled by it. Criticism is like smoke. If you panic and flail, it chokes you. But if you stay calm and focused, it passes. You keep moving forward. So the next time criticism comes your way, remember, it's not a reflection of your worth. It's a test of your perspective. Take what's useful. Leave what's noise. And above all, don't let someone's passing judgment become your permanent prison. Part 5. Protect your energy and watch how rest can heal worry. Worry doesn't just live in your mind. It seeps into your body. It tightens your shoulders and it fogs your thinking. It burns out your energy before the day even begins. Dale Carnegie understood this connection deeply. He wrote that one of the most overlooked causes of worry is simply preventable fatigue. Not just being tired after a long day, but that deep, grinding exhaustion that comes from pushing too hard, too long, without pause. He called rest the forgotten medicine for worry. And he didn't just mean sleep. Though that's a major part, he meant learning to recover before you crash. In a world that glorifies busyness, fatigue can feel like failure. But Carnegie reminds us that exhaustion breeds anxiety. When your tank is empty, even small problems feel overwhelming. You don't need a bigger brain or better time management. You need to recharge. How to protect your energy in a way that prevents worry. Take micro breaks before you hit the wall. Carnegie encouraged working in focused blocks, followed by short pauses. A 5-minute walk or a glass of water or a moment of silence. These breaks stop your worry from piling up unnoticed. Respect your sleep. Carnegie quoted medical experts who said that chronic worry is often linked to poor rest. Not enough or poor quality. Protect your bedtime like it's sacred. No phone and no late-night decisions. Just calm. Schedule real leisure. That means time without pressure, input, or goals. Like a walk without your phone, listening to music, or just sitting on a bench. You're not wasting time. You're giving your nervous system space to reset. Carnegie shares the story of a woman named Catherine Bosley, who worked long hours managing a department store in Chicago. She prided herself on being productive. She was skipping breaks, working through lunch, and checking in even on weekends. But over time, she started having dizzy spells, headaches, and an almost constant feeling of dread. Doctors told her it was just nerves. But one specialist saw through that and gave her surprising advice. Do nothing, rest and step away. She was skeptical but desperate, so she did it. She took 2 weeks off with no emails, no meetings, just rest, nature, and early nights. To her surprise, the worry fog began to lift. She wasn't crazy, she was just depleted. When she returned to work, she reorganized her schedule with breaks, shut her phone off after 7 p.m., and took quiet time seriously. Her anxiety never returned in the same way. Your mind is like a violin string. Tighten it too much, and it snaps. Keep it loose, and it makes no sound. But tuned just right, it creates music. Rest is what tunes you. So ask yourself, are you truly tired? Or are you simply running on fumes? Before you try to fix your stress, check your fuel. Sometimes the most powerful anti-worry strategy is a nap. Part 6. Cultivate a positive mental attitude. Some people seem naturally cheerful, calm, and optimistic, like life doesn't rattle them. But Dale Carnegie believed that kind of mindset isn't a personality trait. It's a mental habit, one you can cultivate every single day. He wrote, "Happiness doesn't depend on outward conditions. It depends on inner conditions." In other words, it's not what happens to you, it's how you respond to it. And that response is shaped by what you consistently focus on. A positive mental attitude isn't about pretending bad things don't exist. It's about choosing where to put your mental energy. Are you replaying what went wrong or noticing what went right? Are you criticizing yourself constantly or appreciating what you're learning? Negativity fuels worry. When you expect the worst or look for the worst and focus on what's missing, your nervous system responds with stress. But when you train your mind to look for small wins, silver linings, or lessons, you create mental resilience. You're not ignoring problems, you're meeting them with strength. Let's look at how to build a more positive mindset. You have probably already heard this. Start a What Went Well journal. Each night, write down 3 things, no matter how small, that went right that day. Another powerful method is reframing setbacks. When something goes wrong, ask, what's one thing I can learn from this? Or what's one good thing that came out of it? You should also practice conscious gratitude. Carnegie called gratitude the most powerful antidote to worry. You can't be grateful and anxious at the same time. Take the story of Leon Shimkin, a successful business executive who had every reason to be content, a great job, a happy marriage, and respect in his field. But inside, he was consumed with worry. Every mistake felt like a catastrophe. Every missed opportunity haunted him. Then, while attending Carnegie's course, he was given one simple challenge. Write down one thing he was grateful for every morning. At first, it felt forced. But within 2 weeks, he noticed a shift. He wasn't just thinking differently, he was feeling differently. His anxiety dropped. His interactions with coworkers improved. Even his energy went up. Why? Because instead of starting the day with pressure and perfectionism, he started with perspective. Carnegie later said that gratitude and positive expectation don't erase problems, but they give you the energy and courage to face them. You don't need to fake cheerfulness. You don't need to be relentlessly upbeat, but you can start looking for the good in yourself, in others, and in the world around you. And slowly, steadily, you'll begin to feel lighter, because a positive mind isn't naive, it's powerful. And when paired with action, it becomes one of your greatest tools against worry. Part 7. Find meaningful work and let it pull you forward. There's a deeper kind of worry that lives under the surface, not about bills or deadlines or criticism, but about something more existential. The kind that sounds like, what's the point of this? Does any of this matter? Dale Carnegie understood this type of worry well. He saw it in successful executives, stay-at-home parents, and soldiers returning from war. People who had the basic needs of life covered, but were still consumed with unease, restlessness, or a sense of emptiness. And his answer was surprisingly simple. Find meaningful work, not just a job, but a reason to get out of bed in the morning. Like a project or a role, a sense that you are useful to someone or something beyond yourself. In his words, the surest way to avoid worry is to keep busy with work that you care about. Nothing can bring peace of mind faster than the feeling that you are contributing to something worthwhile. When you're anchored to something larger than yourself, like a cause, a craft, a mission, you stop obsessing over every small uncertainty. You're moving with purpose, and purpose has a way of quieting fear. What meaningful work looks like. It doesn't have to be your career. It could be raising a child or mentoring someone, or building a garden, or maybe writing, creating, fixing, or teaching. It doesn't need to be glamorous. Carnegie tells story after story of people who found peace just by serving, helping in a hospital, running a local club, or volunteering at a shelter. It only needs to feel useful to someone, even just one person. Carnegie shares the story of a man named Jack B., a retired railroad worker who spiraled into depression after leaving his job. Without daily structure or a sense of purpose, Jack became anxious, irritable, and withdrawn. His wife finally pushed him to volunteer at a community center where he began teaching kids how to fix bicycles, something he'd done for years on the railroad. At first, it was just a hobby, but soon the kids relied on him. They came back week after week. He had a reason to show up. And slowly, the fog of worry and restlessness began to lift. Years later, Jack said, "Those kids did more for me than I ever did for them. So if worry keeps whispering in your ear, pause and ask, who needs me today? What could I build, help, or offer?" Purpose doesn't eliminate pain, but it gives it context. And with context, worry loses its power. We've covered a lot in this video, and I hope by now you're starting to see a pattern. Worry isn't just something that happens to us. It's a habit, a reflex, a mental loop we can unknowingly strengthen or gently replace. And the core message of Dale Carnegie's book, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living, is this. You can learn to live differently. You can build peace of mind, not through luck or magic, but through daily practices that create a new way of thinking. What ties all of the lessons together is one simple idea. You have more control over your mental world than you think. Worry shrinks when you take action, when you shift your perspective, when you anchor yourself in what matters. But I want to be clear, this isn't about being perfect. You'll still worry or feel anxious sometimes. We all do. What matters is what you do with it. Whether you let it spiral or interrupt it. Whether you feed it or face it. If you take just one idea from this video, let it be this. Don't wait until life is stress-free to start living. Because life will always be uncertain. There will always be problems to solve and fears to face. But when you develop the habits Carnegie taught, like living one day at a time, taking purposeful action, resting, helping others, and focusing on what you can control, worry stops being your boss. It becomes background noise, something you can hear but no longer obey. And when that happens, something shifts. You feel more present, more grounded, you laugh more easily, you sleep better. You start noticing beauty again in people, in quiet moments, in your own small victories. That's not magic. That's just the result of choosing a better way to think and doing it consistently. So now, the only question left is, which lesson will you try first? Pick one. Practice it for a week. Come back to this video when you need to. Listen to the stories. Borrow strength from them. You're not alone in this. And you're not powerless. If you want to get more in-depth, get the book and read it. I've shared a link to the best edition of the book in the description. You really can stop worrying and start living.